So thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me. So today we're going to be talking about a very important topic. But before we do so, let me introduce myself. So I'm Laetitia from Coming to Spain. I've been helping expats all around the world for the past 6-7 years moving to Spain. And today's topic is going to be specifically around finding a flat. Right now, Kelly will tell us a lot about this because finding a flat in Barcelona has become, let's put it that way, complicated. So Kelly is joining me. The reason being is she's been working and helping also expats looking for flat, finding their perfect flat for the past couple of years. She's an expat herself. She's been living in Barcelona for 8 years. So I'm very excited to pick her brain. And also I've heard that she has a 6-point checklist to help expat defining and deciding how to find a neighborhood. So if, like many other people, you've never set foot in Barcelona, you don't know where to start, by the end of this video with this 6-point checklist, you're going to be able to already find and know some neighborhood that might be right for you. So Kelly, thank you so much for joining me. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit and tell me a bit about what you do, and then can I pick your brain on that checklist of yours?
Of course. Very nice to be here today. And my name is Kelly. I'm from Mauritius. I've been here for 9 years. I have changed apartments 8 times in 9 years. So I know where to live. I know where not to live, what to do, what not to do.
Okay.
And now that's what I'm doing full time. I'm mostly focused on helping people finding an apartment and setting up their lifestyle, and very excited to speak with you today. And let's try and make it as easy as possible for you, because we know how overwhelming it can be.
Great. Yeah, definitely. So that's why today we're going to make it succinct. We're going to try and give people listening to us some pointers. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to start with your number one. So when someone comes in, let me set the scene again. A lot of people are coming in, like I said, never set foot in Barcelona or even in Spain. But today we're going to focus on, we're going to talk about Barcelona. So what would you say is the number one question that they should ask themselves in order to start defining and identifying a neighborhood that might be right for them?
We have to start with the life stage first.
Okay.
Of course, this is something that's driving your life. So are you retired? Are you working? Are you a family? So if you're retired, for example, what type of lifestyle do you want? Do you want to be by the sea? Do you want to be in the city, maybe in the outskirts? You have a little bit more flexibility, because unlike the worker and the family person who might be a little bit more focused on a school or the company that they're working with, you have more flexibility. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about the questions for the retirees. What are they thinking about?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because I usually work with 3 different types of people. So you have people who are coming here for a change, especially they're looking to retire. This type of profile, there are people who are coming, they're either single or they're coming by themselves. Many people I work with, they're from the US. Okay. And they're quite interested in I think it's kind of like the European lifestyle. And particularly Barcelona. What attracts them is usually the weather. I think the number one thing that I hear is that, they pick Barcelona because the weather is good, and they tend to want to downsize. So a lot of the people that I talk to, they live in big houses in the US, and they want smaller, more compact flats in Barcelona. So that's some of the things that I hear. So there's this type of people, and then there's also working. So you've got a lot of people who are coming as digital nomads. So they're either working from home, so they're looking for places where they can have really good accessibility to Wi-Fi, but also there's some people who come in to work in Barcelona. So they usually ask me, so it would be good if you could tell us also about people who are planning to work in Barcelona, where in Barcelona they could look at. And then the last tier is families. So people who are coming here with younger kids, and they need to go and study in different schools. So these are the type of people that I tend to help.
Super. So let's start with the retirees. And look, with all of you, what I definitely recommend, if you're coming to Barcelona, and you are coming from the States, which most of you are, you kind of want to have that lifestyle where you can walk around, right? So try and keep about a 20 to 30 minute radius. We normally say that's a radius of walking, but that can be also using bicycle or public transportation. If you're a retiree, you have quite a few options. You could be a little bit more uptown, which is always very safe. It's a lot more green, and it's not so busy, it's not so touristic. But you could also be a retiree that wants to, for example, go and do stand-up paddle in the morning, or beach yoga, beach workouts, coffee by the sea. You could go down towards the beach area. You have Poblenou, El Bon, That's a little bit of a tricky area because there's a little bit of places you would stay away from and places you could live on. Places not to go to would be Gótico, of course, Raval. And when you go past Poblenou, which is the other side of Barcelona, like if you get to La Mina, that's way too far out. So stay uptown, so Eixample, Sarrià, Gràcia, even Les Corts higher up. And then I wouldn't go too downtown, Gótic, Raval, and La Mina. Stay away from those areas. But you just have to think, what type of lifestyle do you want? Do you want beach, or do you want a little bit more fun Barcelona vibe uptown where you're a little bit further away from the beach?
That's great. And that's great that you actually named neighborhood, because one of the things is that people will go online, they will use sites like Idealista, they will go on Google Map, and it's really hard to really know. So I think the neighborhood is really helpful. And could you do the same exercise now, looking at, we were talking about people looking, so there's people who are, I would say, the digital nomads. So for them, it's more, I guess we can look into it in more detail later, because I guess it's more lifestyle based. But what about people who are looking to work and they have offices in Barcelona where they need to be? Like, is there specific things that they need to have in mind when it comes to selecting a neighborhood?
So if you're working in Barcelona, I can definitely guarantee there's two things that are happening. So first, you might be on the consulting side, let's say the big consultancy firms. That's a little bit more uptown in the Sarrià area, or majority of you are probably in tech. So you're going to be in the Poblenou area, right? What I would recommend again is, as an employee, if you want to move to Barcelona, you want to feel integrated, don't opt for the commute, like high level commute lifestyle, getting on a train or metro for 30 minutes. You want to be close to the office. You want to be able to socialize after office hours, not have to rush home because you don't want to go home late. So if you're in Poblenou, then you would want to stay in the Poblenou area. You could go a little bit higher up, El Clot. Then you also have San Andreu. So these are all areas that back in the past maybe were not so sexy, but now they're becoming a little bit more sexy. They're very residential, which is great. You have Gràcia, you have Eixample. And then if you're more the consultancy side, you have Sarrià, Les Corts, Eixample, and also Gràcia. So it all depends. But just remember, Barcelona has one street called Diagonal, which is very well connected. It goes all the way through the city. And you also have Arago. So if you're on an opportunity to be on one of those streets or close by, it's literally cuts right through the city, and it makes it very easy to get from one side to the other.
That's good. That's amazing. And now what about families? So in this case, I'm talking to like families with younger kids, and they usually tend to go to private school. They're usually privately educated, so they're looking to put them in English or in French school. I mean, some people are looking to the public system, but the majority are looking for neighborhoods that are school friendly and also, safe. So what would you recommend?
Well, the first thing is you actually have to think as a family, how important is it for you in the lifestyle that the kid is right next to the school? There's two things that happen in Barcelona. One, you can walk your kid to school. And two, there's also the option where you could drive them or you could take them around. But there's also that option that some schools offer, like a bus that comes and pick the kid up. Do you want to do that as a family? Or do you want to be living in a situation where the kid's school is right next to you? The reason why that's almost better is, remember, the school market in Barcelona is pretty competitive, and most of the times they will give priority to the kids living in the same area as the school. So you just have to think, I would definitely recommend looking at schools that you love, and I would recommend being close to the schools. What we're seeing with a lot of clients, especially if you're coming from the States, it's really beautiful to see how fast the kid becomes very city savvy, and now they become completely independent at a much younger age than if they were in the States. So yeah, I think that's something really great to keep in mind.
I think that's good, because I think sometimes people want to be told places, but I think those are good questions that you should ask yourself. And depending on those places, you can do the exercise of looking at where you want to be. So I think this is good. This is great. So this is exciting. Let's keep going. So what would you say is what's second on when you're having those meetings with clients of yours, like what is second on your checklist, the questions that you ask them in order to select a neighborhood?
Well, the second thing you have to think about is budget and layout. Budget, of course, prices. Layout is, do you want a really small, cute, cozy apartment? You don't really care about a terrace. Do you want a bigger apartment with a terrace? And of course, different areas have different options. You will see places like El Bon with very big apartments. Prices are obviously lower because it's downtown. Then you would look at something like Gràcia, smaller apartments, because it's a very compact little city. If you look at Barcelona and you think about urban development, when you see that it's quite together, like for example, a place like Gràcia, you know it's going to be smaller. Eixample, also going to be smaller. The moment you go up and out where there's more breathing space, apartments tend to be a little bit bigger. Places like Poblenou, beach area, they're starting to have this new urban development where you also have access to places like new, bigger apartments with concierge downstairs, gym, pool. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for a cute, small, charming apartment? Are you looking for something bigger? Might be unfurnished, so you might need to go a little bit more outside. Or are you looking for something completely new, which is pool, gym, concierge, right? So those are the options that you have in terms of budget in Barcelona. If you want to start, let's think about the person that's wanting a studio, like just a loft or a studio style. We're starting at €1,000. Anything below that, it's not great. Look, if you're on a really, really tight budget, okay, we could find something for €900, but it's not going to be great. It's not going to be.
Are bills included?
No. So normally always something to remember is bills are not included, and you can add between 100 to 250 per month. So a studio starts at 1,000. Between 1,000 to 1,500, you get a really nice 1 bedroom. 1,500 to 2,000, nice 2 bedroom. 3,000 up, a few more bedrooms. Just have to think about it this way. You have your price brackets, and every time the price goes up, it's either because the finishes are nicer and you have a nice oven or a beautiful kitchen, or it's a little bit bigger and you have a terrace. What I would say is if you have something below 1,000, it's just not going to be great quality. So I would try and keep it above that number.
And actually you touched on something, was furnished apartments. So some people are coming here and they might want to start over. They might not have any furniture. So is there do you find that a lot of the flats, rental flats, offered an option to have a furnished apartment, and does that increase the price significantly when so?
So we actually have to keep in mind the market conditions right now, and at the moment I would say about 80% of the market is furnished. Okay, so it's more complicated to find an unfurnished, and normally unfurnished enables you to have a long-term contract. So I would say they're also quite well sought out after, and we'll speak about it later too with regarding to pets. If you have a pet, of course, long-term option is much better because the landlord's a little bit happier to have a pet in a non-furnished apartment. So honestly, right now, majority that's on the market is furnished. The most competitive market is a 1 to 3 bedroom between 1,200 to 2,000 euros. Okay, that's the most competitive.
Okay. And well, kind of moving on a bit in terms of your checklist, and I know you've mentioned to me that community is something that's also very important, and this is something that I hear a lot from expats looking to move. Big fear is like, okay, am I going to make friends? Am I going to integrate? So do you have anything in mind when it comes to recommendation, questions they should ask themselves in order to find a place that meets their expectation in terms of building new relationships and friends and, kind of a new support system in Barcelona?
Mm-hmm. Well, very important to think, are you going for an expat bubble, or are you really coming here and really wanting to be a part of the local bubble? I want to add a side note, cultural side note. I want to be transparent about it. In Barcelona, maybe Catalans are a little bit more in their bubble. They are a culture they really stick together. They spend time together with their friends that they've known forever, and also their family. So opening their bubble to newness, to new cultures, is not so common here. It's not maybe like other cities in Spain, like Madrid is a little bit more open. So that's something that you definitely need to have a talk with yourself about. It's normal that you might feel a bit like you're an outsider in Catalonia. That being said, if you wanted more of a local environment, and local as in what type of food is around you, the types of social clubs, the people living around you, it's more uptown.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to go to Sarrià, even Gràcia Nova, which is higher up. So anywhere higher up, right on the outskirts. If you want a little bit more of an expat lifestyle, Eixample, Elbon, Poblenou, Gràcia, the lower side of Gràcia. You would also have Sants that's a little bit more local, which I didn't recommend. But Sants maybe not so sexy.
Yeah.
So local is Sarrià, Gràcia Nova, higher up, Les Corts, and then non-local expats is going to be Elbon, Poblenou and Eixample and the lower part of Gràcia.
Yeah, no, and good point. I've also been living in Barcelona for a while now, and it's true when it comes to building a community. Like I've recently had a kid, and I feel like this has been my way in.
Yeah.
This is how I've never met so many people, because this has given me something in common with taking your kids to daycare, and recently I went out to a lot of moms, and they're like, they say it themselves, like there's many Catalans who already have their circle of friends. Weekend are for families, weekend are for to be with your grandma, etc. So I think it's something that people need to be aware, is that yes, people will let you in to a certain extent, but it can take time to build friendships. So it's really important, I guess, that you also come here, that you find activities that you like, that you know that it's, unless you need to really get out of yourself, and you really need to know that, well, to meet people, you're going to have to be proactive about it, because people are not going to come to you necessarily, unless you have pets. Also, pets are good. It's a good conversation starter. I know I don't have a pet, but I can see that when people are walking their pet around, that's a good, but I don't know to what extent, if it's quite superficial, but building friendships, it does take time.
I think 3 things to really be socially integrated. So get your kids into a local school.
Yes.
Take your pet to a local park.
Yes.
And learn paddle. You have to learn paddle. So that's, what's the American one? Pickleball or something?
Yeah. So now, okay, let's jump on number 4. So what would you say? What's 4 on your checklist? And again, question that people should ask to find the neighborhood that's right for them in Barcelona.
So we have to think about convenience. And when I speak about convenience, let's go straight to 2 really important things. Do you want to be driving around? Or do you want to be walking around or bicycling around, right? So if you're coming from a country outside of Spain, most of you guys come from the States. I'm pretty sure right now you have a driving lifestyle. This is not something that you need to have over here. Actually, a lot of people in Barcelona don't even own a car. Our public transportation is excellent. So I personally do not. And I don't think that we'll be getting a car anytime soon. So are you going to be driving? You might be like a super fan of cars, and you've got a car that you love and you want to go around. Okay, so that's one thing to consider. And if you're not going to be driving around, that's something else. So if you've got a car, you love to drive, and you would love to cruise through the Med during the summer, these are the places that I would recommend. So there's 2 sides to Barcelona that you can go to. So you could go more, if you're looking at the sea, towards the left-hand side, you have Alella, Montgat, Vilassar de Mar. So that whole front line, okay? And if, for example, you were living in Poblenou if you were working in Poblenou, you could go to those areas. But then if you're looking at the sea, more towards the right of Barcelona, you have Castelldefels, you have Sitges, you have Garraf. These are all beautiful places that you could live, and you're going to be a 20-minute commute from the city. If you don't want to drive, definitely stay, as we mentioned earlier, if you're close to an office, that's really important. If you're close to school, and then depending on your lifestyle, either close to the beach, that's a little bit more expat, remember, or a little bit more uptown, which is a little bit more local, and it's a place where you can also walk around, and it's a good lifestyle.
No, that's good points. I think it really depends. I think you're giving us a lot of value, but it really depends on what are your expectations, because I know that when it comes to, if you, for example, you want to be a bit outside of Barcelona and you're thinking of places like Castelldefels, etc., and you're not driving, what you need to take into consideration is, as much as the public transport are great in Barcelona when it comes to metro, there's the trains. It's run by an organism that's called Renfe. The trains are very bad. The trains, or the commute, even though it's a 25-minute commute from Castelldefels, for example, to Barcelona, there's a lot of delays on the trains. The accessibility, on paper, it's good, but in reality, it can be complicated to go from, Barcelona. So if you're planning on living in Barcelona, if you're spending a lot of time in Barcelona, as much as appealing it is to live in Castelldefels, they call it Pueblo here, like in a small village, you need to bear this in mind. If you're going to spend more time in the city center, you might as well just find a place that's more centric. I mean, there's so many questions, but it's gold. What you're sharing with us is gold. So we're going to keep going, because we only have 2 more points. Point number 5, I know that you and I had discussed before, and I really like this exercise of visualization. Can you tell me a bit more of this exercise that you do with your client for them to visualize their day-to-day, etc.?
Well, firstly, you're coming to Barcelona, right? Someone moving. So the first thing you have to think about is, what lifestyle do you have now? And are you running away from that lifestyle because it no longer serves you and you want something different? Or are there elements in that lifestyle and your day-to-day that you would like to replicate? For example, do you wake up and you go for a walk along the beach? Do you wake up and you go to a CrossFit gym downstairs? Do you wake up, do you go to a yoga studio 20-minute drive away? You know, what is your day-to-day? Do you like to go and drive to the supermarket? Here you can do that. Or do you like to go downstairs and you have a market with a local deli, and then you have a supermarket with organic products, and then on the weekend there's farmers coming in. You know, do you want to go walk and pick up your children at school? And then thinking about your apartment, do you want to be hosting friends that you're meeting in the cities? If you're hosting, you kind of want to be a little bit inside the city, because if you're quite far out, as Europeans, we don't like to commute to go to people's houses. You know, give us 15 minutes, but we're not doing more than that. So just think about, where are you now in your life? Does your lifestyle work? What works? What does work? What doesn't work? And then what do you want to make out of it over here? I'm going to be biased. I think it's really beautiful over here that we have this opportunity to move our bodies and to have this walking lifestyle. It's wonderful to be able to walk to the supermarket, pick up your coffee in the morning. We're really feeling this whole wellness movement. So that's fantastic. But then at the same token, what we're also seeing is you could definitely have that car lifestyle where you're driving around. And in that case, you can be in the outskirts. So you can be higher up. So Sarrià, even Sarrià, we would say, is a little bit of the outskirts. You could go Castelldefels, you could go to Alea. So you could play with all the outskirts. And just remember, you could also live right in the city. So you could do two-way. You could live outside the city and you can move in. Or what's really great is a lot of apartments in Barcelona have a parking attached, or they're parking areas everywhere. So you could live inside the city and have a lifestyle where you go out a lot. So what we're seeing, for example, we both don't have a car, but a lot of our friends that do have a car, they live inside the city. They love their city lifestyle. On the weekend, they pack up the car with the kids and the dog, and off they go to a beautiful pueblo, as you were saying, and they have a wonderful beach day. So you can do two things with the car, but just think about your lifestyle, what's working for you and your family if you have one now, and what's not working. And then we can make that happen over here.
Definitely, and be realistic. I think sometimes there's this idea of like new country, new me, but old habits stick.
Yeah.
So be realistic with what do you do currently, like what does your lifestyle look like, and probably like I think 60% of it will be similar abroad. Maybe you might change a couple of things, but yeah, be realistic, and based on that, make an informed decision on where you want to live. Okay, we're coming to the end of it, because now I know you've already had a bit. You touched on pets briefly earlier, but now again, this is something I hear a lot of my clients. They come in, many of them. There's a lot of headache around how am I going to be bringing my pets. The first part is like the travel. How am I going to bring my pet from where I live to Spain? Then there's the second half of it. What you can help us with is like, will a potential landlord, will they let me move and come in with my pet? Is this something, do you get a lot of the type of client you work with, do they come in with pets? And on the landlord side, is it easy to find a rental that accepts pets? Is that something that they should have in mind?
No, I'm overreacting. Pets, okay, you're bringing them because you love them. They're a part of the family. So I know they're important to come, but there's going to be just a few more challenges with regards to pets. So the first challenge is going to be the amounts of apartments you have access to. And let's say we would say with pets, you've got access to 40% of the market. The second thing that you would need to think about is if you have a pet, it's very common that the landlord, the owner, is going to want to have a little bit more financial security. So for example, if normally an apartment would ask for 2 months deposit, now they might ask for 3 months deposit. Some apartments actually have a pet fee, maybe like 100 euros extra per month, or you could get a pet insurance. Okay, so you have less availability. You might need to put down a little bit more financial security for the landowner, which is completely justifiable. And then what you want to think about is, with regards to pets, it's easier if you get a long-term apartment because they are more open to accepting pets. Apart from, if you see those beautiful parquet floors, those beautiful old wooden floors, don't even ask, because they're so fragile, the floors, and they're so well maintained. So I would be careful with that. But then if you're thinking about areas, super important, right? A lot of pets sometimes are quite unfamiliar with so much noise in a city. Remember, Barcelona, there's quite a bit of noise, okay? If you're living in the city, so if you've got an anxious pet, maybe stay on the outskirts or stay around green area where you know there isn't like a main street. It makes a big difference. Do you need to be close to a specific pet? Has your pet got any health issues? Maybe in the States, you guys are a little bit more advanced with how specific the medical industry is for pets. So over here, would we need to find the right place for you, right doctor? Would you like to be close to them? So just keep your pets in mind. If they're a little bit more anxious, if they need green spaces, then obviously you would want to live somewhere close by.
Brilliant. Well, this is super valuable. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly. We're going to do many more sessions like this. So thank you, Kelly.
Super, of course.
Thank you.